Well, in spirit of the deep freeze that's still going on in Calgary, I have been wearing a toque in my last few videos here. But this time, I actually got some Calgary Stampeders off-season news, and as you can see, I got this goofy Calgary Stampeders helmet toque here that I've had for years. So it's time to talk some Calgary Stampeders off-season news here. And the other day there, the Calgary Stampeders have announced their coaching staff that's going to work with Dave Dickenson and company here for the 2020 CFL season. And may I add, the 75th season of the Calgary Stampeders here. And there's definitely some interesting names on here, as there's definitely some new old faces coming back here, as we got a former player on one hand, and on the other hand we got another guy who's been here many times and has had some success in the past given the role that he was here for. So I'll bring up my notes here and let's go over who's going to be joining Dave Dickenson on the sidelines for the Calgary Stampeders at the coaching staff, and who's still here returning, because as you recall with my last video where I talked about the Nick Arbuckle trade, we knew that J.C. Sherritt was leaving down south to go to Cal Poly University to be the co-special teams coordinator, and then also the fact that the Calgary Stampeders decided to part ways with Pete Costanza after the end of the season, and he was the receivers coach there for 12 seasons, and that was a tough decision. And then the fact that Ryan Dinwiddie, the quarterbacks coach, moved on to Toronto to become the head coach there. So here's who's going to be coming here to Calgary to join Dave Dickenson to become part of the coaching staff for this upcoming season. Well, we got a familiar face back in Marquay McDaniel here, as he definitely played 6 seasons here at Calgary as a wide receiver. So Marquay McDaniel, hence, is going to be the new receivers coach here. So it's definitely interesting to see Marquay McDaniel back here with the Calgary Stampeders. And another very familiar face who's definitely been here, this will actually be his 4th stint here with the Calgary Stampeders, is George Cortez. Definitely great to get the offensive mastermind back here. I thought this guy retired, and as I go down the article, I'll give you the credentials of some of these coaches here. But welcome back, George Cortez. I thought you retired, but glad to have you back, and hopefully, as he definitely will be the offensive assistant and the running backs coach. Let's hope his mastermind can figure out the running game here for the Calgary Stampeders, as that was definitely a sore spot for us this past season, and definitely was why we lost to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers there at the critical times, and why the Winnipeg Blue Bombers ultimately won the Grey Cup here. So the next guy that's going to come here is Dwayne Cameron, who's going to be the he's going to work with the linebackers coach, as he used to be with the regional scouting consultant for the Calgary Stampeders. So in a way, he's going to still going to be working with the CFL draft here, but he definitely makes his way onto the sidelines here as the linebackers coach. And then there's a guy who's actually from Calgary named Taylor Altilio, who was last season, he was the special teams coordinator for the BC Lions last season. So he returns to Calgary as the assistant special teams coach here. So those are the 4 new names, as you got Marquay McDaniel going to work with the receivers here. George Cortez is going to work with the offense and running backs. Dwayne Cameron is going to be the linebackers coach. And Tara Altilio, if I say your name right, is going to be the assistant to the special teams coach here. So returning here, while Marc Mueller, who is the quarterbacks coach, who is now moved around on the coaching staff here, because Ryan Dinwiddie moved on to the Toronto Argonauts here. Dave Dickenson actually assumed that role as well here, so definitely, actually Marc Mueller was the running backs coach here, but Dave Dickenson definitely can focus even more just on his head coaching debuts here. And then Pat DelMonaco, as I mentioned in the coaching carousel video here, he was the offensive line coach, but now he's added to the offensive coordinator here, so definitely going to be interesting to see how that goes. Plus we got the mastermind and George Cortez, and the guys who are staying where they were from last season to this season is Mark Gilliam, who's the special teams coordinator. He's in charge of the special teams coordinator, and he's the assistant head coach, and apparently he was highly touted to become potentially a head coach around the league here. So thankfully, at least we were able to keep Mark Kilam here. Brent Monson is still the defensive coordinator as he moved up to that role from the linebackers coach after Dwayne Cameron went to BC there. And then I should mention that Dwayne Cameron has taken over Jason Sherritt's spot, that now he's going to the Poly State University there. And then Corey Mace, he is still the defensive line coach. He's been there for, I believe, the last 5 or 6 seasons. And Joshua Bell, I'm glad he's still here as the defensive back coach, as he's definitely done a great job coaching our defensive backs there, and definitely love his dance moves in warm-up there. And actually, I didn't realize at the time there, but it was the last game that he played as a player before he went to become the defensive backs coach after the 2017 season there. He was dancing at the Grey Cup there, and I kind of played along with him there. And actually, they were playing the Ayu Teo song Rolex there, and I realized he actually was dancing to those moves there. But I like Josh Bell for both his personality and his coaching, so I'm glad to see him back here. So that's definitely a lot more turnover here over this past season with their coaches have, between the coaching cap and the fact that a few guys have moved on here. That's definitely been the strength of Calgary, but we'll see how things will mesh out here in the 75th season here. So to look back at some of these coaches that and their backgrounds here. Well, George Cortez, as I mentioned, this will be the 4th time he's going to be here with the Calgary Stampeders here, as originally he was the offensive line coach for the first time from 1992 to 94 there. Then he returned to the Stampeders as defensive back coach in 1997. And then he was the offensive coordinator from 1998 till 2001. And then he was at the University of California. George Cortez came back here in 2007 and 2007, 2009 there as defensive coordinator. George Cortez, he's definitely been in the league for a long time here, starting with Montreal back in 1984 to 1986. And then he was with the Ottawa Rough Riders from 1990 to 91. He was the Hamilton Tiger Cats head coach only in 2012 there. And then he was part of the staff with Saskatchewan in 2006 and as well in 2013 and 14 here. And he was with the BC Lions in 2015 here. So part of that, if you follow along with the Grey Cups, he's been a part of 5 championship teams here. 4 with the Calgary Stampeders from 1992, 1998, 2001, and 2008 there, and he was on the coaching staff for the Saskatchewan Roughriders when they won the Grey Cup in 2013 here. So I'm excited to have George Cortez back here, as I thought this guy retired. He's like Rich Stubler of the CFL, that he's been in, now you're going to say 5 decades here, the 80s, 90s, 2010, and 20s now, because as I know, Rich Stubler is still the defensive coordinator with the Montreal Alouettes there, and he first coached in the CFL in the mid-80s as well here. So that and Jerry Glanville, his name was, that he was, I think he was still coaching the Hamilton Tigers there a couple years ago, and he was 78. I'm like, wow. So in addition to all the CFL experience that George Cortez brings here, he actually spent some time in the NFL as coach here. He was the Buffalo Bills quarterbacks coach from 2010 to 11 there. He also served on the college staffs at Rice, Lamar, Southern Massachusetts, and California, as mentioned there. So, yeah, definitely nice to get the offensive mastermind back here with Calgary. And then the other coaches here, well, Marquay McDaniel is coming back to the Stampeders as the receivers coach. He was actually special offensive assistant for the Montreal Alouettes this past season. They had an exciting offense, pass-happy offense here, and I think with George Cortez here as well, I think our receivers are definitely going to be busier here. It's going to be interesting to see with free agency who you go after as well here. But, Marquay also was the receivers coach at McMaster in 2008, and he was a guest coach during the 2018. So 2018 McMaster, and in 2018 he was the guest coach there. So, as I mentioned, he played 10 seasons in the CFL, including 6 with Calgary there. Over his career, he has 562 catches, 7,366 yards for 27 touchdowns there. And I remember that he broke in with the Hamilton Tiger Cats in 2009 there, and he was a nominee for the most outside rookie there. And then a couple years later, he was released, and we picked him up, and he was a nice fit for Calgary there. So, and then especially his best season was 2013, and he was part of the 2014 Grey Cup team. So definitely nice to have Marquay back. And then Cameron, we're talking about Dwayne Cameron here, as now he's the linebackers coach here. According to his article here, he was most recently with Wilfrid Laurier University as the special teams coordinator, defense backs coach, and recruiting coordinators there. So, and he was a part of the Vanier Cup team that won in 2005 there. And he also was the defensive back special teams assistant for Hamilton in 2010-11 there. So another guy with some championship pedigree there. Should also add in, speaking of the Vanier Cup, the University of Calgary Dinos actually won the Vanier Cup this past year as well. So that's Dwayne Cameron here. And then Altilio here, he was with the Lions in 2019. He actually was with Calgary previously as the special teams assistant in 2016 and the special teams coordinator, strength and conditioning coordinator in 17-18, and he also spent some time with the University of Calgary Dinos in 2011 there, and he served the role from 2011 to 2015 and 2017 here. So, and I said he's from right here in Calgary, and he went to high school at EP Scarlet here, and so yeah, that's the new coaching staff here. So it's definitely an interesting mix of guys that have had some experience and championship pedigree there, and I'm definitely pleasantly surprised that George Cortez is back here with Calgary for the fourth time here, and hopefully he'll bring in some more hardware and come with the mastermind to work with Dave Dickenson to get us back to winning the championship there. So yeah, this is just my Calgary Stampeders coaching update here as they announced their coaching staff for the 2020 season there, and so that's filling up the gaps there, and we'll definitely see next month here with free agency. Is definitely when I'll recap what Calgary did in free agency there with any players that they signed or kept, or we definitely have been losing some talent here in the NFL here, but John Huffnagel seems to be able to find ways to find guys to plug right in and still keep us competitive here. So yeah, that's some more Calgary Stampeders off-season news here. So of course, if you enjoy everything I do on my YouTube channel, just where I talk Calgary sports, Calgary Stampeders, for example, as well, I do personal vlogs, attempt economy, and share my experiences when on the road, where I'm at sporting events or on the road on holidays there. I also post that up on my YouTube channel. If that sounds like anything you enjoy watching, just make sure you hit like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to follow along when I post up some content here. And I say, go Stamps go, and I'll see you in the next video here, and let's hope 2020 will be a better season for the Calgary Stampeders here.